Are your ad campaigns lighting up the dashboard, but not the pipeline? That's bullspend, and marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
My boss asked for results, so I opened my dashboard for the only positive-sounding metric I had: impressions.
Cut the bull spend. See revenue, not just reach. LinkedIn delivers the highest return on ad spend of major ad networks. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
AI is incredible. It can teach you how to fry an egg and even write a poem, pirate style. Yarr! But it knows nothing about your work. Slackbot is different. It doesn't just know the facts. It knows your schedule. It can turn a brainstorm into a brief. And it doesn't need to be taught. Because Slackbot isn't just another AI. It's AI that knows your work as well as you do. Visit slack.com/meet Slackbot to learn more.
Well, hey there. This is going to be such a fun one. On today's show, we're talking travel. You might not know that we have a sister show, or is it brother show? I don't know, called Stacking Adventures. And on that podcast, we just had a topic that's at the intersection of retirement planning and travel, which is why I wanted to include it this week on Greatest Hits Week. Jerjian is the guy we talked to. He's a retirement mindset coach from London, and he traveled around the world. He shares his best tips and what he learned about retirement along the way. So it's perfect for this Wednesday episode. By the way, Stacking Adventures is, if you've never heard it, it's a user-created show. For the most part, most of our guests are you, regular people, finding out the good, the bad, and the ugly as they travel around the world. We kind of learn from each other, all of our adventures. We love it because it's so unpolished. And it's like this group of friends sitting around chatting about their latest trip. It also, by the way, is a labor of love. It kind of comes out when it comes out. But generally, it's every week. I should say nearly every week. We also play a different game there. You know, we have trivia here at Stacking Benjamins, but there we play a game, Where in the World is Crystal Hammond? Like, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? If you played that as a kid. Crystal's my co-host. She's got this place that she's been dreaming about, and people call in, and number one, they make a statement to narrow it down. So a couple weeks ago, it was, well, and you'll hear it actually on this episode. The question is, are you in the continental United States? And I won't share what Crystal said, but every week we narrow it down a little bit. And by the way, don't worry about episodes that you missed, because we'll give you the list so far, every episode in. And we play for a backpack and, of course, the bragging rights to your friends. So you can brag to everybody that you've won the Stacking Benjamins Where is Crystal competition. But subscribe to that show if you like travel, and also play the game with us by submitting your guests, and that's at stackingadventures.com/mystory. All right, a couple notes before we hit play on this episode from last week on Stacking Adventures. First, I will be in Seattle on Thursday. That is tomorrow, if you're listening the day it comes out, or if you're not, well, it's March 5th. So it's after March 5th. You missed us. We had a great time. Well, we cried the whole time because you weren't there, but you don't want us to cry. So show up 6:30, Elysian Brewing in Capitol Hill. That's on Pike Street. To tell us you're coming, go to stackingbenjamins.com/meetup. That'll also take you to our Benjamins After Dark Seattle Facebook group that meets in person monthly. You can sign up. You can also join a great group of local people. We're going to give away stuff tomorrow night with Doug's Trivia. We'll talk money. We'll talk better living. Maybe have a foamy beverage or two, or non-foamy if that's more your thing. Thursday, 6:30 p.m., Elysian Brewing, Capitol Hill in Seattle. Also on our community calendar, I just love this, our shiny new Boston group. They are up and rolling. March 11th. Right around the corner, man, next week. My daughter Autumn lives in Boston. She's already signed up for the group. But on March 11th, James, Caroline, and Susan have this great first meeting agenda plan. They're going to be at Hannah's Brewing at 6 o'clock. That is in Melrose. So 6 p.m., Hannah's Brewing in Melrose. For details, go to stackingbenjamins.com/meetup and be part of the people that got it going. You know, Southern Minnesota, I think, might have had 40 people there. And I've been to Boston. I've been to Seattle. You guys can crush 40 people. By the way, Southern Minnesota, that is Not at all. That was a big meeting. And by the way, their second meeting, no smaller, still a great group of people meeting in southern Minnesota, like we have also in the Twin Cities and in Seattle and now in Boston. But anyway, be a part of that big first event, Wednesday, March 11th, 6 p.m., Hannah's Brewing. And it's stackingbenjamins.com/meetup to get there. So exciting. And finally, one thing that you don't want traveling is your credit without you, as somebody stole it and is sending it across the dark web. That's not cool. Well, to help you there, the Vault is alive and working for a bunch of our stackers. Not only does it protect your privacy, getting you off all those email and text list, but it monitors your credit, cuts your subscriptions, helps you bump up your credit score, create a better debt pay down strategy, and more. Cheryl and I use it in our weekly meeting. Other tools do a piece of this. You've seen pieces of the Vault all over, but why have 7 different ones when you could have just one, and one that works with the credit bureaus themselves and was also built by some of the top developers in the land? stackingbenjamins.com/vault to check it out. You can watch my walkthrough video and more. So many people doing cool things with the Vault. I think I'm getting an email almost every day about somebody with a cool success story using the Vault. All right. I am so excited to have this intersection of retirement planning and travel. Lifestyle design is what I'm going to be talking about in Seattle on Saturday at Retire Meet. I'm one of the speakers at Retire Meet. Come join me there. I don't even know if tickets are still available, but I hope so. And if so, you'll see me talk about designing a better retirement life. My talk's actually called How to Make a Miserable Retirement. And we'll definitely try to help you do exactly the opposite of that, right? Anyway, for a preview of that, and a guy singing off my song sheet, Jerjian, and in just a moment, Stacking Adventures. But we've got a couple of sponsors who help us keep on keeping on. We're going to hear from them. And then it's Crystal, me, and George Jerjian talking about his travel around the world. You may not know that when we started Stacking Benjamins, it was a blog. And even then, just the startup cost, I remember thinking, is this the right thing? And what if I write things and nobody comes, right? Well, luckily, that didn't end up happening. But starting something new isn't just hard. It's terrifying. There's so much work. You're not sure whether it's going to work out. You're not sure if anybody's going to read it. And then we change it to a podcast. Is anybody actually going to listen, right? What if nobody wants all the stuff that we have? Well, had I used Shopify, it would have been even easier, because with their expertise, their helpful tools, and their easy-to-use platform, that's something that would have made Stacking Benjamins more effective much, much more quickly. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. Names you've heard of like Heinz and Mattel, Shopify, Gymshark, Aviator Nation, Allbirds, also all Shopify. Get started with your own design studio with hundreds of ready-use templates. Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store that matches your brand style. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. And did I mention that iconic purple Shop Pay button? It's used by millions of businesses around the world. It's why Shopify has the best converting checkout on the planet. It also helps boost conversions, meaning less carts going abandoned and more sales for you. So you're stacking Benjamins much more quickly. Time to turn those what ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/SB. Go to shopify.com/SB. That's shopify.com/SB. Spring cleaning's made its way to my closet. This time of year always makes me rethink exactly what's in my closet. Really want to keep fewer things, but I also want to keep better ones. I want to feel confident, and to feel confident, looking the part's a big piece of that. So I want pieces that are well made and that are easy to wear all the time. And that's why I keep coming back to Quince. The fabrics feel elevated. The fits are thoughtful. Pricing actually makes sense. As I'm swapping out and I'm cutting, the few additions I'm making all come from Quince. Quince makes High quality, everyday essentials using premium materials like 100% European linen. They're insanely soft, flow knit activewear fabric. Their men's linen pants and shirts are lightweight, they're breathable, they're comfortable. Basically, the perfect layer for spring. The pants strike the right balance between laid back and refined. If you saw the video of me on stage at Retire Meet, those pants are from Quince. It was really cool. I came off stage and Christine Benz from Morningstar getting ready to go on behind me and said, love your pants. Not generally. I absolutely love them. I think they make me look put together without trying too hard. And they're flow knit activewear, moisture wicking, anti-odor, soft enough that you'll actually want to wear it all day. The best part is their prices. This is important, stackers. They are 50 to 60% less than similar brands. How? Quince works directly with ethical factories, cuts out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality, not brand markup. Everything's designed to last and make getting dressed easy, which is another thing I think we all want. I love those pants that I wore on stage. It's the cashmere sweater that every time I wear it, Cheryl goes, that is my favorite sweater on you. It looks great, feels great, and I don't have to have 50 things in my closet. So, like I am, refresh your wardrobe with Quince. Go to quince.com/SB for free shipping and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada, too. Go to QUINCE.com/SB for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/SB. Crystal, what's the furthest from home you've ever been?
Okay, we know geography is my strong suit, so I'm going to go with Hawaii. I think Hawaii or Dubai.
Oh, I think it would be Dubai, wouldn't it?
Dubai, yeah.
I think
that was the longest.
It would be Dubai. You've been to Thailand as well.
Oh, yep. Yep, geography is kicking my tail right now. How about you?
Have you circled the entire world?
Yes, because when we went to Switzerland, we went above, coming home, we went over the equator, which was cool. Or not the equator, the North Pole.
Over the North Pole. Wow.
We went across. So we went and came back a different direction.
Welcome to Crystal's adventure in geography. I would have thought Dubai, you might go one way across Europe and then the other way to get to Thailand, you might go across the Pacific.
I don't know. I wasn't driving.
She's no idea.
We're piloting. How about you, Joe?
I feel like it's that Jerry Seinfeld joke where, the pilot Crystal always comes on and they go, hey, we're going to be flying you over, blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And Jerry's like, hey, as long as we land on where it says on my ticket, you can go whichever way you want.
There we go.
Well, today we're going to hear stories from a man who hit the road for an epic trip around the world. We'll hear about exotic places, beautiful locations you're going to want to add to your bucket list. And this is, I think, the biggest part, the important lessons that he learned about life, about retirement while he was on the trip.
Wasn't it in 80 days, around the world in 80 days? I know that's a cliche.
I wonder how many days it took, George.
It did. Okay. Well,
we'll find out.
I know, we're about to. And then let's be real. Most travel gear out there is just plain awful. That's why we share our gear of the day at the end of, we don't share it at the end anymore, but we do share our gear of the day. So you can head to our website at stackingadventures.com/GOTD, where you can see all of the gear that we've talked about in past episodes. And these are tried and true pieces and items that not only come recommended from us, but also from you, from other people that have been on the show. So we want you to adventure betterer. I love saying adventure betterer, but you'll set yourself up with some gear that's Crystal Joe Alicious at our page at stackingadventures.com/GOTD. Once again.
And now
let's get this show on the road.
Ready for adventure? From vacation to staycation, and from the mountains to the beach. This is the Stacking Adventures podcast.
Welcome back, adventurers, to the Stacking Adventure podcast. Every adventure has a story, and this is where we hear yours. And today, Crystal, we're hearing George's story. And man, what a story this is going to be.
I'm excited to hear from it. And also, the thing that's going to shock you is he did all this traveling and he waited till a round age number like the perfect age for traveling. And you'll see.
Is there a perfect age?
No, any age.
Well, and that's what I like. I like it when we learn some lessons just from the people that we meet around the world, from the things that we dare ourselves to do, maybe some of the places that we go that we wouldn't have ever expected that we would go, the people that we meet that might be different from us. Like, that's the fun of this whole thing. And I think this is what encapsulates George's adventure.
And the food that we eat and the souvenirs that we buy. Those are my two favorites.
Shock of all shocks. Crystal has some favorites. Well, speaking of favorites, ready to meet our favorite guest?
Yes.
He is the man who is a retirement mindset mentor. He's also the creator of the DARE method. He guides people age 55 to 75 to reframe aging with courage, clarity, and purpose. We're super excited. He's on the line from London, I believe, today. George Jerjian joins us. How are you, man?
Great. It's great to be on your show, Crystal and Joe. This is wonderful.
Yay.
I am
We're
so
happy to
excited.
have you.
Well, we are so happy that you're here. And what's it like in London today?
It's not as cold as where you are.
I'm in Texas, so
Okay. But
yes.
Didn't you get snow recently?
We did.
There you
did.
A ton.
Crystal
And
in our nation's capital got more than we did, George. But
A lot more. We still have those piles of snow and ice. Like, they're really tall, but now they're extra dirty. So it's beautiful
Could
to
you
look
not
at.
have sent it to Colorado? They needed some there.
they did. Let's talk, George, first of all, about your bigger mission, because this trip was part of your bigger mission. Can you speak briefly about the DARE method and about this idea of reframing retirement?
Yeah. Wow. Big topic. How can I bring it to 2 sentences?
Right.
Essentially, I went through a situation where retirement didn't serve me. And so I've been on this journey. I've learned a lot about it, and I'm now teaching it. And the DARE method is really is another word for courage, because you need courage to unretire. Most people just drift into oblivion. I mean, if you remember that Disney movie where the moths go to the flame, and one is trying to help the other, and it's like, I can't help it. Gone. That's what retirement is, because we've got another 20 years to go. And so I've reframed it. I've been teaching this. And one of the things I discovered in my teaching, because I'm learning as well in the process, is that the only way to get people to pivot their minds is travel. Travel, yes. Wait for this. In a nutshell, I think it was Mark Twain who said, travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness.
Wow.
And many of our people need it sorely on these accounts. And I think more so today than in the last 30, 40 years. And so it's about changing perspective. And you only get that when you travel, because travel makes you humble. You need other people to help you. So like it or not, it makes you humble.
So then how did you prepare? Like, where did you even start on this mind shift? Because honestly, people after retirement or even in their 70s, they're like, okay, it's time to relax. I don't want to go through the trouble of, find a new place. My back hurts, my knee hurts. How do you even mentally prepare and physically prepare for, okay, I'm just going to travel?
Okay, there's 2 types of travel. There's the travel for entertainment and pure fun, and then you come back untransformed. And then there's another form of travel where you travel with intention. I want to learn. I want to discover new things. I want to experience new things, right? And you need to try things and not like them so that you can find what you actually end up liking. You're not going to find it sitting down thinking about it. And so to answer your question, it took me about 3 months to prepare.
Okay.
And for the first time, I actually used a travel agent. I haven't used one in 20 years. I used a travel agent because I realized this is an epic adventure and I need the assistance of people who've been to these places and know what it's about. And they understand that I can only cover a small percentage of what I'd like to. How do I focus on the things I want to see and I want to experience?
Do you start off then with a bucket list, George, or do you start off with these are the feelings I want to feel, these are the conditions I want to put myself in? Like, where did you begin?
Well, that's a really good question. I began with saying I want to visit countries I've never visited before. So this is a whole new plan. I'm not playing safe. I want to experience new things, which means I need to go to places that will make me maybe a little uncomfortable at first because I don't know it. And at the age of 69, which is when I started planning this, you kind of think, what if I stumble and fall? Am I going to be shipped back and my trip's going to be complete, a complete lost cause?
Yeah.
And if I had listened to my inner voice, my inner critic saying, oh, it's too long a journey, it's too expensive, it's too much time consuming, I would have just given up and sat in front of the TV and withered away. But I wanted this challenge. And so one of the things I did was I chose countries I'd never been to before. And the countries that I chose to go, I forced myself to focus on the areas and the places that I wanted to visit. So, for example, in South Africa, I wanted to visit Cape Town because it's notoriously a beautiful place to visit. The vineyards, the ocean. I wanted to go and see Robben Island, Nelson Mandela's place, right? Now, I'm not looking at this from a political perspective. I'm looking at this from a personal journey. Here was a young man, a lawyer, an activist who ends up in jail, spending 27 years with a pickaxe in a limestone quarry. And he comes out of that place not hating people. For me, that is a massive transcendence. And I wanted to know how he did it. Not for historical reasons or political reasons, but from the human element of how do you transcend a situation that you find yourself in. So, for example, retirement is a situation, but it's not Robben Island. Let's be very clear, right?
I'm ready to retire today.
So, trust me, retirement is not what you think it is.
Okay.
Once you take the glossy glasses off, the rose-tinted glasses, okay, retirement is the end.
Work.
You're in God's waiting room, essentially, right? It's not as, and after the honeymoon period, it sucks. And that's why you have to reinvent yourself. And the biggest, the first casualty in retirement that people don't realize and don't recognize is loss of identity. Who am I now? And so I've created this whole new thing out of nothing.
Well, and if you go to the vineyard too, I mean, hey, you're not only creating a whole new identity, George, you're doing it with a glass of wine in your hand, which is even better.
Oh my God. You have no idea. It was, South African wine is exceptional. And the food they give you with it. And just to give you an idea, the cost of a dinner in South Africa, in Cape Town, is a quarter of what it would be in London or in New York or in Austin, Texas. Believe me, it's a quarter of the price. And the food is fresher. The wines are crispier. In none of the other countries I went to could you experience that.
Is there a must-do in South Africa? We're going to ask you about a few must-dos, but and we have a wide audience, but I'm wondering if Robben Island is a must-do for people no matter where they are in their journey, or if there's another place that you really, really love that maybe is a little off the beaten path.
Great question. Robben Island definitely is worth a visit. And I think it's really more to recognize how one man managed to go through a really experience and come out with that anger, resentment, and bitterness and vengeance in his heart. That is really amazing. But the other place in South Africa, which is a must do, is a glorious safari.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Being in nature for 5 days, I was doing I was there for 5 days. It was in the Timbavati Game Reserve, which is north of the Kruger National Park and on the border with Mozambique. But of course, as you know, these animals don't have passports. They don't need to travel. They can travel across, no problem.
How do they get away with that?
You don't know if the lion you're looking at is from Mozambique or whether, he's a native South African. But the point I'm making is that it's just so glorious waking up at 5:30 in the morning for a 6 o'clock safari. It was 3 hours, 6 to 9, and then breakfast.
Nice.
So you get up in the morning when it's still dark. You have a coffee and a muffin, and you're on the Jeep, and it's a Toyota Land Cruiser, open back. With all sorts of attachments for the tracker and race. It's just an amazing experience driving at that time in the morning as you see the sun rising over the African landscape. Just unbelievable. And the animals, you kind of, we got so close to these animals at every turn, and they're all on walkie-talkies, these guides. So if they spot something, everybody else comes around. And how they know how to get there, I have no idea, because there's no road markings as far as I could see.
Oh.
And they can see stuff that I can't see if I'm real close up even, because their synapses and neurons are wired in such a way. They've been watching and seeing this. And again, because I'm a mindset mentor, I recognize how people's minds are dictated by how and what they want to see. So the safari, we saw a lion who just killed a wildebeest. One of these large, it was a lot of meat on that thing. And this lion, male, very different to the females. A male lion is selfish. They just eat for themselves. The female will kill to feed her children. The cubs. But the
Typical.
male, the male eats this entire thing over 3 days until it's just a skeleton, literally. And the vultures are sitting on the tree going, "Come on, mate, get off. It's our turn now." You can actually see the dialogue going on here. And it's just, but it was, for me, it was seeing nature, its beauty, the beauty and the brutality of nature. Seeing the kind of offspring of a kudu left on its own. And I say to the driver, "Do we take them into the?" He goes, "We can't do that. We'd have a zoo if we did that. Nature has to take its course." And I said, "So is it lunch or dinner?" The guy goes, "Very likely lunch."
Interesting.
So you kind of have to accept this is the way it is. And I'm thinking to myself, how do I bring this back in terms of philosophy to our human lives?
Right.
Things happen.
Yeah.
But it's just it gave me a new balanced way of looking at things, just watching nature, how it plays out. There's nothing, it's not about good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
I do even, George, want to go back to something you said earlier, because I think this is so important for people, is that, some of these experiences you might not like. I can imagine Crystal, Cheryl, my spouse, just watching this lion eating a wildebeest and just going, no, thank you. Like, gross. But I love this idea, George, of pushing yourself to find things that you don't like, because we had on the Stacking Benjamin show a certified financial planner, Benjamin Brandt, on. And he was talking about this idea of melding pre-retirement with retirement, because too often people have this idea in retirement of things they think they, quote, might want to do. And then they get to retirement and it's this big disappointment because it turns out you didn't like all the stuff you thought you were going to like, and you never play tested. You never put yourself out there to actually see if you like it or not. What I love about what you're saying is this play testing, this playfulness around, I might not like it, big deal, that continues through retirement. And it's not only okay, that's what we're looking for.
You hit the hammer on the nail here, because you've actually added another layer to this. One of the things that people don't recognize is that who they are now in retirement is not who they were. Who they were is gone. But we've spent 40 years chiseling at making this person that we are, the persona, right? Which is really, it's a mental construct. It's not even real. And we think that's who we are. And it's not. It's that almost sort of disappears with your work, because who you are is connected to your work, essentially, for most people. And when the work goes, who am I now? And you're not going to find the answer to that sitting at home. You need to be out. And travel is the sort of the shortcut to find out who you want to be in this next stage of life. And you have to have the curiosity of a child. So when I was thinking about doing this 80 days around the world, my alter ego was, okay, it's mad. It's laughable. You're being childish. Yep. You need to have curiosity. You need to have, and also comparison is the thief of joy. We always compare ourselves to the people around us, the people that we've been with. There's a kind of competition. On your deathbed, how's that going to play out for you? Do you know what I mean? It's sort of, we're so dependent on what other people think about us or of us. If you knew how little time people spend thinking about you, you'd soon get rid of that thought.
I like
Crystal,
that.
where are we headed next with George?
Yeah. So what was next? You said Australia is next.
Yes, next was Australia. And I kind of visited Sydney. Again, lots of wineries, obviously. Sydney, Melbourne.
You had to. It was play testing.
Right.
Yes.
Totally. And I went to the Great Barrier Reef because it's, again, another one of these wonders of nature. You know, when you're 69, you're thinking, I may not be coming this way again. So I thought I wanted to see the Great Barrier Reef. So I went up to the north of Australia to Hamilton Island, which is kind of like on the edge of the Great Barrier Reef. And stunning silica white beaches, amazing water. Sadly, a lot of lemon sharks and what are those things that bite you? Jellyfishes.
Oh, jellyfish, yeah.
So you have to go with...
I was like, sharks.
Well, they're small sharks, but I don't want them taking a chunk out of me. And so I had to go in with one of these wetsuits, which isn't fun when you want to swim in the ocean. You know, you want to be at one with the ocean. You've got this thing stopping you. Whereas in Hawaii, for example, that has the best waters in terms of non-threatening creatures around you. But Australia was beautiful. It's but just on one note on Australia, I was in Melbourne and it was pure serendipity. My journey was planned, but it left a lot of room open for pivoting and changing plans. I couldn't get into the museum I wanted to go into because it wasn't opening for another 2 hours. And I thought, what am I going to do now for 2 hours? I walked around and I fell on another museum half a mile away called the Museum of Immigration.
Oh.
Now, that was an eye-opener. I wouldn't have thought that, but seeing the evolution of Australia from the kind of the 1800s to what it is now, from a pure Anglo-Saxon English population. After the Second World War, they had to open the floodgates because it was, I think they called it populate or perish.
Wow.
So they started inviting the rest of the Europeans in. And then eventually today, it's kind of open worldwide. But the character and personality of Australia has evolved because of immigration. And I never really quite saw it that way. You kind of have to go, you can see it happening in another country. You don't see it happening in yours so much. And the UK is the same. It's transformed in terms of immigration. Although it's not an immigrant country, immigration has transformed it. And needless to say, the US is an experiment in immigration. It's pivoting the other way now, but essentially it's still, and I have no doubt it will continue to be, because this is just the blip. But the immigration, the museum had a temporary exhibition on identity. And that blew me away because it broke it down to identity is not just how we see ourselves, it's how others see us, how others pigeonhole us by the way we dress, the way we talk, where we were educated, the color of our skin, our physiognomy. Everything plays into this. It's a mosaic. Identity is. And I'm trying to find a new identity for retirees. I'm thinking, wow, this is such a huge topic. And identity is crucially important because what you believe, you become. So if you believe, your identity is not helping you, there are some things in your identity you can change to make you feel better. Some things you can't change, but a great deal of important aspects you can change that will change how you think, how you feel, and how you live your life.
Well said. So was there anything?
Crystal?
Yeah, any other top must see? Because it sounds like the Museum of Immigration is one must see. And I
love how it was just kind of
random.
It was
not planned.
Not planned. The other thing that I enjoyed was traveling from Melbourne on the Great Ocean Road. It's
cool.
It's a long journey through all types of landscape till you reach a place called the 12 Apostles, which is 12 rock formations. It's now down to 8. The other 4 have eroded, sadly, but it just shows you the expanse of Australia. And, on the map, we'd only moved about a centimeter. Australia is a continent. There were so many other places I wanted to see, but with 2 weeks, you can only do so much. There's Uluru, which is right in the middle of the Australian continent. Used to be called Alice Springs. There's Perth. I'd love to have seen that. Another place is Tasmania, the island of Tasmania. I'd love to have seen that. But what I saw was a vibrant young country. And again, its identity evolving.
That's cool. In the second half of today's discussion with George, we're going to hear about New Zealand, which I don't think, Crystal, we ever talked about New Zealand. I don't think we have.
No, we have not.
No. Then we will circle back to Japan, a place we've been, but George went to some places that we have not yet talked about on the show. And then we are also going to talk about
Canada.
Hey. And we're going to ask George if he learned the language. And as a guy that grew up on the border, the language, well, George, and by the way, Canadians, it was a Canadian friend of mine who told me this. So don't get angry at me. It was one of your countrymen. But George, the word Canada was created by Canadians, don't you?
No.
Well, you can tell by the way it's spelled. Canada.
Oh, man.
Okay, I'm here all week.
Landed flat.
Joe, that's called a dad joke.
Yes. And it landed so flat.
Crystal knows I may be familiar with dad jokes. On that great note, by the way, don't blame me, blame Bernie, my friend Bernie from Canada.
We owe you one, Bernie.
Yes.
We owe you one.
And maybe not in a good way. At the halfway point of the show, we have this contest, George, where our adventurers are trying to figure out where Crystal is hiding. She is somewhere, either in a place that she went to that she absolutely LOVED'd, or in a place that she's always wanted to go. And Crystal, we have found out a couple things so far about your trip. We have found out that, number one, you are not in the mountains.
Nope,
so we know you are
Denver.
not in the mountains. Second thing we know, you are not in a country that's along the Mediterranean coast.
Nope, am not. But
we
thanks for the guesses.
We know those two things. And today we're super excited because adventurer Amanda joins us with her guess. Amanda, where do you think Crystal is? Let's ask Crystal a question first.
Good day, adventurers. This is Adventurer Amanda, and I have a question and a guess for where in the world is Crystal San Diego. My question is she within the 50 United States?
Oh, there's a good question.
That's a very good question.
We can narrow this to a much smaller piece of the world. Still, like George, you were talking about, Australia is a huge place. You see it on the map, you think, oh, it's Australia. How big it's huge. US still huge, but that will knock it down if it's right. So we're going to find out in just a moment. Is Crystal in the USA? We'll be right back. Dell PCs with Intel Insider, built for the moments you plan and the ones you don't. There for those all-night study sessions, the moment you're working from a cafe and realize every outlet's taken, the times you're deep in your flow and can't be interrupted by an auto update. That's why Dell builds tech that adapts to you. Built with long-lasting batteries so you're not scrambling for an outlet, and built-in intelligence that makes updates around your schedule, not in the middle of it. Find technology built for the way you work at Dell.com/Dell PCs. Built for you.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Pepsi Prebiotic Cola in original and cherry vanilla. That Pepsi taste you love with just 30 calories and no artificial sweeteners. Pepsi Prebiotic Cola. Unbelievably Pepsi.
All right, Crystal. Amanda wonders, are you inside the continental United States?
I am not. No.
She is not.
No.
Which also narrows it, not as much as had you been inside the U.S., but narrows it. So she is outside of the USA. And sadly, Amanda, I bet you're going to guess someplace inside the USA. But let's hear where Amanda guesses that you are.
Not including any outlying territories.
Islands.
My assumption is no.
Oh.
So I will be guessing Aruba so that she can sit on the beach.
You can tell Amanda's heard this show before because she knows Crystal likes the beach. But is Amanda correct? Are you in Aruba?
No, but I do love the beach. That was a great guess. No Aruba, but it's on my list. That is 100%
it is
on my
in Aruba,
list.
Not that far from Barbados, where you have been.
Ah, right. Yep.
Yeah. So Amanda, maybe it's a trip you and Crystal to Aruba.
Let's do it.
All right. So adventures, now we know she's not in Aruba and she's not in the contiguous
50.
United States. Crystal, where do people go for their guests? You can guest once per quarter, and that's a calendar quarter. So we still have what? We still got about 6 weeks left in this quarter. So where do they go to guest?
Head to stackingadventures.com/mystory, one word, and you'll hear yourself. Yay. That gets us so excited. It's the little things, you guys. We want to hear from you. George is going to call in too with his guests.
He is. He feels like he's got it narrowed down now. Now he knows. George, let's get back to your epic adventure.
Yes.
And I'd love this idea of this is a mindset shift for people going into retirement. You've now been on this tour, for at least a few weeks. How's your mindset as you're leaving Australia headed to New Zealand?
I think one of the adjectives I would use is elated. You know, when you're on a sort of a high, you're on a high vibration, a high frequency, everything that in the past you'd use negative stuff to sort of make you go like trudging through mud. This was the opposite. This was like, nothing I could do was wrong. And the reason was, if there was something that I felt, I listened to my body. If my body felt, I really don't want to go on that tour today, I just don't want to go. In the past, I would definitely go because I had to tick the box. Right? You got to stop ticking boxes. Right? Nobody's checking on you. You don't need to pass any exams or tests. You just have to have fun. And so I didn't do some of the things that I was scheduled to do.
Nice.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, oh my God, I just spent money on this. I feel I have to go on it. No, I'm worth it. I don't need to go. So again, it's a mindset thing. In the plane, in the airline, sitting in the middle seat, I've never sat in the middle seat all my life. But I went on a world tour trip, which meant that it was economy. So I got sat 3 times on 12-hour flights in the middle seat. And the only way to get through that isn't to get angry, upset, is to go zen. You go zen, all right? That's the only way through this. But to answer your question, Joe, I was excited about New Zealand because it's known for its natural beauty. So I went to Coromandel Peninsula, which is in the North Island, which is a cycling circuit. I mean, the beauty is so powerful that your eyes hurt. Your eyes actually hurt because you think, how can I capture this in my mind? So when I'm having shitty days, I just think of this and I go zen.
Go back.
Is this the mountainous part? Is that what was beautiful?
No, the seriously mountainous part is in the South Island. This is the North Island, which is quite hilly. I wouldn't say mountainous. Okay. But I mean, there was a hot water beach where you literally, they give you a spade and bucket and you dig a hole in the beach and you go into this and it's like warm water, but it's got all these sort of salty chemicals and whatever that keep, and it's just, you come out of it revitalized.
Wow.
But when I was digging, I hit cold water, as I do, and I hit scalding water that's going to burn you.
Ooh.
Until there was a very nice South African couple that invited me into their little swimming pool, and I popped in there, and it was just perfect.
Wow.
Again, friendliness, humility, attributes that really help you when you're aging instead of getting grumpy. Right? State of mind.
The New Zealand people I've heard, by the way, George, just generally just wonderful people to be around.
Yeah. I mean, they are. And I met a lot of great people, some of whom I'm still friends with. I went to the South Island. South Island was extraordinary. I took a train ride across the South Island from Christchurch to Greymouth. and the train snakes through mountains and lakes. Lakes are sort of ice blue and gushing rivers, ice blue gushing rivers. It's just so beautiful. Lots of lakes. I drove 6 hours from Christchurch down to the southern point, Queenstown. Again, incredibly beautiful landscape. And down there, I took a tour to Milford Sound, which is like a fjord, a Norwegian fjord. Very mountainous. And in fact, the mountains there are called the Southern Alps, as in the Swiss Alps. And on the way back, I thought, damn it, I've got to fly over these. I'm never going to see this again. And so I flew over the Southern Alps. It was a $300 ticket. And I, in the past it would be, should I not? And I thought, I'm doing this. Yes. And I flew over on a single engine plane going over the Southern Alps. And it was just majestic.
Look at the look on Crystal's face. She's like,
I know,
no way.
I'm there.
You are there.
I'm picturing myself like, wow.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that look on Crystal's face was no, thank you. Single engine plane. I'm gone.
Well, actually, it was exciting because, again, if I put on my city hat, it'd be like too risky. I need a two engine plane minimum. But as Charles Lindbergh said when he was told he's mad not to take one of these vests. What do they call them?
Life jacket.
Life jackets, right? Not even life jacket. Parachute.
Yeah, right.
He didn't take a parachute because he said, "What's the point? I'm going to drop into the Atlantic, which is freezing, and die within 5 minutes." And he saved himself 5 kilograms on the plane because his plane had to be light.
Oh, interesting.
Who's that? There's a comedian, I think it's Ron White, who talks about whenever he's flying across the western part of the United States, where there are no major, there's no ocean, there's no sea, and they always talk about how your seat cushion will turn into a flotation device.
Yes.
And he's like, I have no idea why they tell us that. Apparently, when they find our bodies later, it's so that archaeologists will think that there was a sea here at one point or a river. I don't know. Just a little morbid humor. One thing we have to see in New Zealand. What's our must-do New Zealand style?
Maori dancing.
Oh.
Now, the reason I say that is because I learned something there. I mean, there's obviously lots of things to see in New Zealand. There's the Milford Sound. There's Coromandel Peninsula. There's Kaikoura, where I swam half a day with dolphins. Started off with 20 dolphins, ended up with 200.
Wow.
It was unbelievable. Unbelievable. And I even saw a couple of dolphins mate right in front of my eyes, and I had it on camera. It was on video. My video was going, and I was going, I can't believe this is happening. I'm capturing this.
You're making X-rated dolphin video?
You don't want to know about the sex life of dolphins. Trust me. You think you're missing out. But let me share with you what the Maori dance taught me. The woman who led this troupe of Maori dancers said, please do not applaud us. Yeah, do not applaud. We don't do applause. We don't need your approval. If you like what you see, shake your wrists like this. And the reason is, I discovered that our entire culture, educational system is about approval. Well done. Competition. And we don't look inside ourselves as to, do we need somebody else's approval to be doing something we want to do?
Nope.
Where can we find that regenerative spirit to become who we want to be without seeking approval or needing approval to make it worse? And so that's wonderful, letting go of that approval. Mm-hmm. There's a form of independence.
That's super. That's cool. Yeah. We are going to, unfortunately, leave New Zealand because I feel like I could stay in New Zealand forever.
I know.
And you head nearby to Japan But
Yes.
you went to a couple places in Japan, George, that we haven't spoken about on Stacking Adventures before.
Okay, the first one was I went to Kanazawa, and I specifically wanted to meet a samurai.
Oh.
And I met this samurai historian who actually traces his own family's history back 600 years to when the samurai were effectively created. And it's their ethos and the way they think. It's about, I mean, the word samurai means service. Now, of course, they were eliminated over 100 years ago because they kept Japan backwards, technically, and Japan wanted to move into modernity. But with it, they kind of lost something. But what I recognized in Japan was that the whole ethos of service, serving others, is so bred into their culture because of the samurai. The word samurai means to serve. And I love the ethos with which the Japanese do things. They do things to excel. There's obviously the dark side of trying to be excelling in things. But for the most part, they're incredibly helpful people, and they're so respectful. It's like a breath of fresh air. I'm not sure I could take it for more than 4 weeks, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Too much fresh air. You're too used to London.
Yeah. We're not so respectful. But the point I'm making is it's so nice to see that. It's so refreshing to see people respecting another human being. And even on the trains, I traveled by train the whole time. On the trains, the conductor comes in. He comes in, he bows. Literally, he bends like 90 degrees. He bows to the passengers. He walks through the cabin, gets to the end, turns around, does another bow. And I'm like, I was left thinking, wow, that's absolutely stunning. And, but as I said, my mind goes to what's the opposite of that? It could be too much. But it was just amazing watching that. The second part was when I went to Hiroshima. I went to Hiroshima for a reason. I'd read John Hersey's book, Hiroshima, which depicted the lives of 6 people before the bomb, during the bomb, and after the bomb. And so I was fascinated to see how that city had resurrected itself from literally total annihilation, virtually. And now it's 3 times the population it was before the bomb fell on it. And it's like the 11th largest city in Japan. And there's no radioactivity to any more than anywhere else. But there was a thing the Japanese have done, which a lot of other peoples who've been through that kind of terrible episode in their lives, is that the Japanese have moved on. They've forgiven, moved on, and said, we don't want this to happen to anybody else. So they've got a really sort of interesting view on it. I met some Australians there who said, well, if the bomb hadn't gone down, the war wouldn't have ended, and which is partly true. But also I learned a lot of personal stories about people who lived through that time. And I'm a sucker for great stories, particularly love stories in these kind of times. It's such an uplifting stories of people helping each other. So that was the thing about Japan. I wanted to know, how do you come back from an atom bomb falling on you? And I'm not comparing retirement to an atom bomb falling on you, but you get the gist. We think crises is the end of us, when actually it's the making of us.
Yeah, what is that? What is that phrase that life happens to all of us? It's really what you do about it that matters,
Yeah. There's another one, which sort of as a corollary to that, Joe, is life isn't what happens to us, it happens for us. Isn't that interesting? Again, it's a pivot, isn't it? It's a mindset pivot.
Yeah. Yep.
That is a good one. And then we're pivoting back home to Canada.
Yes. Well, home
Canada. Well, Canada. Not home, but home stretch. Home stretch,
yes. Vancouver. Flight from Tokyo to Vancouver, another middle seat. Zen. And Vancouver's beautiful. Bit too much rain as a Londoner. They're worse than us. They get so much rain, but that's also why it's so green and so beautiful. So I took the Canadian, which is a train from Vancouver. It's a sleeper train all the way to Jasper, to the Rocky Mountains.
Cool.
And talk about feeling like you're in the middle of nowhere. But, Jasper's a little place, surrounded by these giant Rockies. And I have to tell you, you go to Japan, you go to Mount Fuji, it's one mountain. You go to the Southern Alps in New Zealand on the South Island, and it's European-style mountains, medium, moderate. You go to the Rockies, and there's nothing but a sense of awe at the vastness of these mountains. And these damn mountains each have names. Each of them have names that nobody will ever remember. There was only one I'm struggling to remember, that one. And that was the biggest one. But my point is that as a unit, these mountains leave you with a sense of awe at how small we are. And again, this is why travel opens our minds to an extent that I kind of want to mention you a quote from Paulo Coelho, the guy who wrote The Alchemist, about the guy who takes the journey, comes back home. He's changed. He feels the town's changed, but he's also changed how he sees his place, because that's what travel does to you.
Mm-hmm.
But in Canada, it was a question of awe. And I kind of want to bring in something that a guy by the name of Dacher Keltner, who wrote a book called Awe. And it's about feeling of being in the presence of something vast and transcendent. And that's how you feel. I didn't know that's how I felt, but I recognized when I read this, that's exactly how I felt. And it allows you to ponder on the big questions of your life when you are in that state. And that's the beauty of travel, to these places that just blow your mind by their beauty and vastness. And he actually gets it down to a science. He calls awe releases dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward. Awe is beyond language, beyond thought, beyond religion. Isn't that amazing?
That is cool. That's great.
He captures the essence of how I felt on those Rocky Mountains looking at these things.
Did you stop, by the way, because you said you went to Jasper? And by the way, something that struck me, because this is now, George, a place that I've been, what struck me about Jasper is how I can feel like I'm in this little nothing town in the middle of this vast place. Like it truly feels like I am in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. I am clearly, which was beautiful. I mean, you wake up in the morning and there's caribou out by the railroad tracks, which was incredible. Did you also stop at Lake Louise or Banff while you were on that trip?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, the mountains, the lakes, I cycled around the lakes. I mean, it was just so beautiful. I also went to Quebec. This is the final place. Quebec is a very interesting place.
Much different than Vancouver. Much different.
Oh, yeah. But I think it's different from any other place in Canada, apart from Montreal.
Yeah.
The French flavor is still very strongly there. And I think that I love the history. Apparently, the Americans tried to take over Canada twice before. This is the third attempt. I kid you not.
Interesting.
It is interesting. And how,
That
in fact,
is.
it was the people of Quebec that stopped them. Without Quebec, Canada would have been the 51st state.
Wow,
way back.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was interesting. But they have great food in Canada, particularly in Quebec. And you almost feel you're in Europe. It's the only place in North America that you have a sense you could be walking the streets of a French town in the south. Except the weather, of course.
It certainly looks like it up there on the hill in Chateau Frontenac, I think it's called.
Yes, that's right. That's exactly it. Yes.
Just beautiful French style architecture. And I can't imagine. I have heard, by the way, that if you go in the winter, they have a wonderful winter festival where you can ride a sled, George, all the way down the hill, forever and ever down that hill. And I heard it's really fun.
I'll pass on that one.
Stick with the summer. If someone is headed to Canada, this is like asking somebody's headed to the US, what's the one thing you need to do? But is there one you got to?
What, in Canada?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it has to be the Rocky Mountains, because a city is a city and food is food. But the Rocky Mountains, I mean, the majesty and awe of the Rocky Mountains, it's just mind-blowing.
Interesting.
I'd do the train from Vancouver to Jasper and then explore. Oh, one final thing. The road from Jasper to Lake Louise passes through Route 93, Icefields Parkway.
Mm-hmm.
It was a 3-hour journey in a luxury coach, but I couldn't get my eyes off the mountains, the forests, and the lakes. And it felt like, when it was over, it felt like I'd been on that journey for 15 minutes. I couldn't get enough of it.
I will second that emotion, George. In fact, where the visitor center is for the ice fields, the mountain directly behind it, directly across the highway from the ice field, was maybe my favorite hike when we did the Rockies. You hike up and it's, you're hiking up a mountain, so it's not the world's easiest hike, but it also wasn't as difficult as I thought it would be. And we got this wonderful picture of the Canadians that put these red chairs, these Adirondack style chairs up on the mountain in the middle of nowhere, overlooking the ice field. But we got this picture of this ram standing next to this bighorn sheep, standing next to the red chair that looks like a postcard, but we took it ourselves. It was so amazing. Just I would go back to the Rockies in a heartbeat. What a great way to finish off the trip. When you went home, you mentioned that you kind of see home differently, right? You see everything a little differently after you've traveled the world. How did you see the world differently after this trip?
That's such a good question. I think I transformed. Actually, that segues beautifully into the quote I want to leave you, because sometimes, these quotes actually capture the essence of what you want to say in the fewest possible words. And it's the Paulo Coelho quote, because that's exactly how I felt. And he said, maybe the journey isn't about becoming anything. Maybe it's about unbecoming everything that is not really you. So that you can become who you were meant to be in the first place. So in a sense, I felt I was more me after this trip, because I had shed some of the artifices and the personas that we put out into the world. I'm smart, I'm successful, I'm this, I'm that, blah, blah, blah. And it's all stuff that you really need to tear out to come to the essential, who am I? Who do I want to be? And what makes me happy? What gives me joy? And And I think I also slew a lot of fears in my travels about the stranger, the outsider. And the world is not, the world is a dangerous place, but it's also a very friendly place. And I think how you see the world, how you pivot your mind to see the world is what makes a difference. So if you think the world is a dangerous place, trust me, those dangerous things will come to you because you've just attracted them. Right? And I'm not saying that bad things don't happen to people, even to good people, but the number of times that's going to happen is so insignificant. Why would you deprive yourself of all the joy that you can have by being in that correct mindset to attract all the good stuff to come to you, particularly when you reach retirement and you have another 20 years to go? Why sort of make your playground smaller and smaller and smaller instead of bigger and bigger and bigger?
I feel like we have our own Sir George slaying his own retirement dragon here, Crystal.
Thank you, Joe.
One trip at a time. Yes.
That was a fantastic story. If only, Crystal, we know somebody who has written a book about this topic, maybe about the transformation and the
Odyssey.
This Odyssey. If only somebody, George, had written a book about this. Like, that would make this perfect.
It would.
we would mention it now. We would mention it on the Amazon page. We would mention it.
Right. We wouldn't put it in our show notes. None of that. Tell us, George, there's a book about this where we can dive in even more, because I think we just crust.
Yeah. All these stories are in there, and there's lots more. It's called Odyssey of an Elder, Around the World in 80 Days. Why Around the World in 80 Days? Because when I was a kid, I read that book, fell in love with it, and then life took over and I forgot until I had an opportunity to resurrect it and say, I'm going to do this. And the more I started looking into doing it, the more I got excited. And I thought, I have to follow this. If this feels good, I got to go with it. And the result was, I wrote Odyssey of an Elder, Around the World in 80 Days. And I had great fun writing it because I actually wrote it in a way that you're traveling with me, sitting next to me.
Nice.
Fabulous. And by the way, speaking of sitting in the middle seat, if you're in the middle seat in economy, what a better way to spend the time. But there's no better way to spend the time, I think, than reading about George's Odyssey, sitting in the middle seat and thinking Zen. Jerjian, thank you so much for helping our adventure better. What a great story. Thank you for sharing the tale.
Thank you,
pleasure.
Joe. Thanks, Crystal. I had fun with this too. Thank you.
Yay.
George, hang out for just a minute with us while we say goodbye to everybody. Thank you for hanging out with us live. We do these live generally on Friday mornings, 9 a.m. Eastern time on many Fridays. So come join us and say hi. Crystal, if people want to call in for our game to find out where Crystal is, where do they do that?
Head to stackingadventures.com/mystory. We would love to hear from you. And we are so grateful for all the people that have called in already. This is a lot of fun. And I hope you really get tickled when you hear yourself on the radio.
Absolutely. And if you'd like to share your story of going anywhere around the world, share those with us too. Amanda, by the way, called in not only with this, she also shared a story that we're going to play on a future episode. So if people want to share their story of trips around the world like George did today, where do they get in touch with us?
Hint is the same place. Head to Stacking Adventures.
Say it ain't so.
stackingadventures.com/mystory.
Awesome. And George's book, Odyssey of an Elder, is going into our Gear of the Day picks because it's a perfect travel read. And if people want that, it's stackingadventures.com/GOTD. That's going to do it. Crystal.
That's a wrap.
That is fun.
Joe. This is always fun.
So
Thanks,
she is Crystal.
And I'm Joe.
Keep on adventuring, everybody. Bye-bye.